Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Hairsa, also known as the Hairsa Way, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about neutral palettes. Top 10 in my collection. And these are not only just me talking about the best neutral palettes in my collection. Consider this video kind of like a recommendation for any neutral lovers out there, or maybe you're getting started with makeup and you want to get started with neutrals, or maybe you want to discover more neutrals. I brought you variety, okay? Indie makeup, Cbeauty, luxury, high-end, whatever. You know, you got all the options here. I brought you creme de la creme variety, all kinds of price tags and color stories and sizes. I'm planning to do one with colorful palettes, which is my personal favorites, but I wanted to start with neutrals. I don't know, something told me better start with neutrals. And I have quite a few to talk about, even though I'm not a neutrals girly. I'm even wearing a fully neutral look today. I think that whatever you're looking for, you might be finding it in this video. Hopefully you enjoy it, but yeah, let's get started. This goes without saying, but these are in no particular order. You guys know I don't like doing rankings because rankings just make my brain hurt, because I don't like ranking stuff. It would take me forever to just sit there and be like, what is better? What is worse? So like, just, you know, I'm going first, second, third, but that doesn't mean that it's a ranking. The first palette I'm going to be talking about is All Done Up from Blend Bunny. I put that upside down. And this is what she looks like. Oh, she is such a beauty. I did talk about this palette in another video of mine, actually in my Black Friday recommendations. I absolutely love the Blend Bunny formula. You guys know that, so I'm not going to get into that. Let me talk about the color story, because the formula, it's already a given. I love it. This color story is very interesting. While yes, you do have quite a few neutrals. You know, you have the warm browns and the gray and the black and the white, and you know, quite a few shimmers that, you know, stay mostly in the neutral realm. You have these two other rows, you know, one with the mustards and one with the greens, that I just consider, I mean, I kind of consider them kind of neutrals. I feel like muted greens are neutrals in my eyes. Like if I'm going to talk about colors that I consider, you know, closer to neutrals, muted greens would totally be neutrals for me. And I love that this palette is such a well done but elevated, spicy neutral palette, actually, because I feel like these tones are kind of hard to find in a palette altogether when you think of neutrals. Like I feel like the market is oversaturated with warm browns, you know, and don't get me wrong, warm browns are great. They're comfort colors for a lot of people. You can use them with all kinds of colors. I do enjoy me a warm brown once in a while, but this palette is just so well done. I really enjoy this palette. Highly recommend it. I did not expect to love it as much as I do. When it was first released, I was like, it's a neutrals palette. I don't think I'm interested in it. And then started seeing looks with it. I'm like, oh, I so regret not getting it. And of course, I finally did. I believe I got it Black Friday 2023. So yeah, it's been with me for like a year and a half almost. And yeah, I absolutely love it. It's such a good, like, I know that if I want to do neutrals look, if I don't want to think too hard, I'll go to this one. Next up, this is a palette that I already talked about in one of my most recent videos, but this is the Fleeting Life palette from Cheeryep x Freya. This is Cbeauty. Listen, Chinese makeup has taken over my freaking life, okay? This is what she looks like, and yeah, this is a cool tone lover's dream. Is actually what I'm wearing today on my eyes. I am wearing this shadow right here all over my lid and my crease, and then the matte black shadow as a liner on, you know, obviously on my outer corner and a little bit on my inner corner. I even put it on my waterline. God, I freaking love this palette. The mattes are super pigmented and buttery. This palette has beautiful matte grays that lean from lightest to darkest, and then obviously a matte black, but even the browns and the like pinkier tones lean towards more cool tone. And then of course you have the shimmers, which are mostly neutral, with the exception of the red hollow, the red, and then this like purpley bluish periwinkle shimmer. But I would say that this is a neutrals palette. I do love me a neutrals palette that has a little bit of kick and spice to it, okay? Like just like I talked about All Done Up, I like that this comes with shimmers that are not necessarily particularly neutral. Like obviously you have shimmery neutrals, but you have some like colorful ones, because neutrals, again, I'm not a neutrals girly, but I do enjoy that neutrals, you can pair them with any color. You don't gotta think too hard. You can just do a neutral on the crease, a darker neutral on the outer corner, and then slap a, you know, colorful shimmer on the lid, and you're good to go. Therefore, you have something that is like, you know, a neutral, but like a more elevated neutral look. I'm going to say neutral so many freaking times in this video. I'm going to be unbearable. Absolutely love it. I haven't had it for too long, but it's just impressed me so freaking much. I even ordered another Cheeryep palette, which is on the way to me because I love this formula so much. I was so impressed. I'm like, I gotta have more of these. But yeah, highly recommend this. And also, I freaking love Freya. We follow each other on Instagram. I love everything that Freya does. Her BYOPs are just amazing. And yeah, you would be supporting a very cool content creator as well. Let's talk about some more Cbeauty. Why not? I also talked about this quad, this palette on one of my more recent videos. This is the Kaleidos Black Jasmine quad. This is in my best of for 2024. This is also a cool tone lover's dream, just way smaller. This is, you know, obviously it only has 4 shadows. You know, you have the perfect gradient of like the 2 grays and then into the matte black and this beautiful silver, which it tends to lean a bit like more, I don't want to say gunmetal because gunmetal leans more black, but it's pewter. Should I call it pewter? It definitely has like the vividness of like a lighter silver, but it is a bit darker. There's some smokiness to it. Such a sexy ass palette. Hope that Kaleidos comes up with more things in general, okay? Every time I talk about Kaleidos, I say, wake up Kaleidos, what the heck are you doing, okay? You used to be such a cool brand and now you've been asleep for damn near 2 years. But coming back to it, it's great quality. I absolutely love the mattes. I love the Kaleidos mattes. I love their shimmers as well. They're very sparkly. And yeah, again, if you're looking for smaller palettes and you don't want to do too much, you don't want to get, you know, too many big palettes, you're not a fan, you want to travel with them, this is a great one. I promise variety, and variety you're going to get. Let's talk about some luxury beauty. This is Bronze Seduction from McGrath, her Mothership 5 palette. This palette came out many years ago. I mean, 2018, 19, I believe. And I talked about it in another video, but this color story has lived rent-free and mortgage-free in my mind for years until I got it. Something about it just screams sultry and sexy and just, oh, like bronze goddess, basically. I mean, just like the name, Bronze Seduction. The name is perfect for it. This, even though when you look at it, you might be like, but hairstyle, that's not really a neutrals palette. I would say it is, because look at the mattes. Okay, yes, we got the eggplant purple, but other than that, the other 2 mattes are browns. This is a very approachable palette, even though you might be like, this is only 3 mattes. You could still create many looks with it. And even the shimmers, I would say they lean more neutral, with the exception of like what? The red and maybe this one that has a little bit of green in it, but I still would consider this one a neutral as well. To this day, think that this is her best color story. I freaking love it. Always a classic for McGrath. I had to mention her, okay? I mean, just from the name itself, like it draws you in. There's something about this palette that just seduces you. Again, coming back to it, Bronze Seduction, okay? I love her. It's so great. I had to mention Mother Pat. She is just an icon, always forever a makeup legend. 5th palette. Oh, this is such a blast from the past for me because Dose of Colors was one of my, I still is, but I feel like, again, they've been a little bit dormant recent years. They were my favorite brand to go to for mattes. Their matte formula is absolutely exquisite. This is the Pretty Cool palette, and I do have the older format. The packaging doesn't look like this anymore. Let's talk about the palette itself. So they have quite a few in this line, you know, the 5-pan palettes. They tackle a certain color and do the gradient, all matte from lightest to darkest, which helps creating coherent and cohesive and very easy, don't think about it too hard looks. As you can see, I've used this quite a little bit. I have dips in all of the mattes. Even though it says Pretty Cool, I would say that these browns, there could be, you know, cooler toned browns in these, but this is still a very nice neutral palette. I used to use this so often, okay? I really hope that they are coming back, like, you know, because like I said, they've been a little asleep the last few years. I know that they came out with that shimmery stick, whatever, and like, you know, that kind of brought back the hype of the brand, because they used to be the it girl brand for eyeshadow. I know a lot of, and even for lip stuff, like people love Dose of Colors. I don't know what happened after the pandemic. I know a lot of brands suffered. If you're watching this and you're not a neutrals lover, they have other ones that are more colorful. I would highly recommend. Very, very, very underrated, but trust, these mattes are amazing. They are so easily blendable and creamy. And yeah, even though I've had this for many years, they still blend like a dream. No issues. 6th palette, back to Cbeauty we come. This is the Narimi. I believe this is the Ash palette. There's quite a few translations for the Narimi palettes. So this color story, I believe it's the Ash palette. This is such a good palette. First of all, the Narimi formula is just beyond chef's kiss. This is also a cool toned lover's dream. And you, again, I might hear somebody say, but hairstyle, this is not really a neutrals palette. Well, It is, because most of the shadows in it are neutral, except these like two very muted blue and green. So again, like I said before, muted colors kind of are neutral to me in my eyes, and I might be wrong, but you know, this is my video. I make the rules. The white matte that you see at the very end there, it's so pigmented. When you pick it up and you put it on your lid, you do not need a white base or anything tacky. You could just layer this and oh my god, it's so freaking opaque. Same with the black, very pigmented. I freaking love this palette. And oh, the Narimi shimmers are also amazing. Listen, like I said, Cbeauty has taken over my life and my collection, and this is just an amazing freaking palette. I absolutely love it. And again, if you're a colorful lover and you're not really interested in this, highly recommend the Narimi formula in general, okay? Their other palettes are just as top-notch as this one. Yeah, when I first saw it and I first got into the brand, I'm like, I kind of want to go for, you know, their more colorful palettes. But once I tried the formula and saw how much I loved it, I was like, I gotta have all of them. And I'm so glad I have this one because it's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. And again, when I first looked at it, I'm like, this is not a hairstyle color story. I'm not into this. I love it. Okay, it doesn't matter. When it's good quality, you will love something, whether it's like your typical favorite or not. But yeah, highly recommend Narimi palettes. Here we come back with another Cbeauty item. This is from Kaleidos. This is a cold brew palette. Very similar to Black Jasmine. This is pretty much the warm equivalent to it. This is the brown version of it. This has browns, again, ranging from lightest to darkest, and then this beautiful rose goldy champagne kind of shimmer. I freaking love this one. And these mattes appear darker on the lid than what they look like on the pan. I was shocked when I first used this on my crease. I'm like, oh, that's a little too dark. Than I usually go for like my initial crease color. If you are a warm neutrals kind of person, this is, again, a great condensed into 4 shadows palette. And I could see this being a perfect bridal palette. And again, I am not into, like, you know, particularly traditional bridal makeup, but I know a lot of brides are, and I would highly recommend this one because it's so perfect. And this shimmer is just, it's so freaking pretty. It's more dimensional on the lid than what it's appearing on the pan. But yeah, I had to mention some warm neutrals, you guys, of course. I know that I mentioned quite a few cools because if I were to pick between neutrals, I would lean towards more cool, but I still love warm neutrals. They're still very beautiful. And again, very easily approachable. I highly recommend this one as well. Alrighty, 8th palette. This is another quad, another Cbeauty quad. This is the Girlcult number 50 quad. Again, hold on, listen. Girlcult is what got me more and more into Cbeauty. I tried this brand only like beginning of 2024, and again, it's just what had me deep dive into Cbeauty. Very similar to the Kaleidos ones. 3 mattes ranging from lightest to darkest, and then a shimmer. When I tell y'all, this sparkle is so intense. This shimmer right here, it's just beyond this world. It looks like a mirror on your eyes. These mattes are very buttery and pigmented. They appeared on my lids more gray than they look like on the pan. Like these look like, you know, cool tone browns, like mid-tone, like neutral to a little bit cool browns. Yeah, these, especially this one and this one, appeared gray on my lids. Not as like cool tone gray as what I'm wearing, but yeah, it was a shock for me because I was like, oh, these are also appearing a little bit darker on my lid than what they look like on the pan. I find that happens quite often with Cbeauty brands because they're so pigmented and buttery that I'm like, ooh, maybe I put a little bit too much. But yeah, I freaking love this one. And again, if you're a small palette kind of person, you will enjoy this one because it's even smaller than the Kaleidos ones. Look, it just fits in the palm of my hand perfectly. It's so freaking cute. I call them my oyster shaped palettes because, I mean, tell me, doesn't that remind you of an oyster? Highly recommend. I can see this also being a cute bridal palette. I don't know, this is turning into me recommending all kinds of things. But yeah, I freaking love this one as well. And palette, back to Blend Bunny we come. This is a Dollhouse palette, unfortunately being discontinued if it hasn't already been discontinued. Such a shame because this is a beautiful neutral palette. And again, I might hear some of you skepticals out there saying, but hairstyle, this is not really a neutrals palette. And I'm going to say that's where you're wrong. It is a neutrals palette because ignore the shimmers for a second, okay? Because I know the blue right here, you know, immediately catches the eye, and maybe the purple there, ignore them for a second. Look at the mattes. Look at the lighter mattes. Look at the mid-tones, and especially the deep mattes. This is a neutrals palette, again, with a little bit of kick, a little bit of spice into it. Don't expect a colorful girly like me to talk about neutral palettes and not mention some neutral palettes that have, you know, some colors thrown here and there, some pops thrown here and there, okay? This is a beautifully done neutrals palette. I freaking love the blend binding formula. Again, I'm going to shut up about that because I know you guys are sick of hearing me talk about it over and over again. But I freaking love this one. So sorry if it's already been discontinued, but I had to mention it, okay? This is such a well done palette. I love the fact that we have some like green, orangey, purpley tones, but still there's some mutedness. Is that a word? Mutedness to it, okay? That's what in my eyes makes it a neutral. And again, because even though you might be a neutrals person, you still might want to spice it up a little bit, okay? That's your right to do so. These kind of palettes are perfect, okay? And maybe, you know, that's where you slowly start getting into color because trust, the colorful palette recommendations is coming, okay? Of course, if I did neutrals, of course, I'm going to do my favorites. So coming back to this though, highly recommended. I love the fact that it has dark shimmers in it. I love me some dark shimmers, okay? I'm a dark shimmer lover through and through. So yeah, again, if you really, really look at it closely and you really, really think about it, this is a neutrals palette. And now for this last one, I feel like I might get yelled at for putting this. Again, I make the rules, is my video, but I'm putting some mauves as neutrals. And you might say, but Hairstyle, maybe mauves are just like more pinks. That I feel like they're too muted to be considered colorful, okay? These are, in my opinion, cool tone neutrals, but just leaning a little pink. The reason why I have two in my hand is because this is the older version, like I mentioned, for Pretty Cool. That's why Pretty Cool is shiny, because this is the older packaging and this is their newer packaging. I like the newer packaging, but I feel like this has a little bit more soul to it. I don't know. There's something about it that just like more, you know, cool and funky. And this is a bit more like, oh, you know, a little basic, but again, this is what the brand's current 5-pan eyeshadows look like. Now, let me show y'all the actual palette inside. The reason why I have an old version is because, hold on, let me open it because you guys are about to be scandalized by how this freaking palette looks. Yeah, listen, hey, listen, I used the shit out of this palette for years and years and years, to the point that I was like, okay, this is pretty embarrassing. And this palette actually, side story coming at you real quick. When I dropped this palette once, that's why these two shadows look pretty messed up, okay? When I dropped this palette first, I fixed the matte shadows with rubbing alcohol. That's where I learned that rubbing alcohol is never good for matte shadows because they kept cracking and breaking. These shadows have broken and cracked several times on me because rubbing alcohol, you can do shimmers with rubbing alcohol, but not mattes. Mattes, it just, I feel like it just like messes with the formula too. I ran out of two of the shadows here, as you guys can very well see. Again, the formula is just beautiful. They blend beautifully and they don't blend into each other. Same with Pretty Cool. They don't blend into each other, even though they're pretty much the same color family, right? You can still see the differentiation between the lighter, the mid-tones, and the darker colors. And again, you can wear them with anything, but I had to mention something for the pinky lovers out there because I'm a lover of mauves too, okay? Dollhouse and this one are for the pinky lovers out there, okay? I haven't forgotten about y'all. They still, I feel like mauves and again, muted pinks and muted colors in general, I'm becoming a broken record right now, are considered neutrals in my opinion, just spicier, okay, and more elevated. I have one more recommendation, so technically this is 11, but the reason why this is more of an honorable mention is because I just received this palette, so I haven't used it on my eyes yet. So, you know, this is more like a shout out because this is also a beautiful neutrals palette, all matte too, okay? Similar to the Dose of Colors, but obviously a bigger color story. And like I said, I love the Narimi formula, but I haven't tried this one. Again, I just literally got it this week. I had to mention it, okay, because it's such a beautiful neutrals color story. I cannot wait to dig into it. And because I'm a generous queen, I don't know, I find it so pretty. Again, with the right shimmers for you indie lovers out there like myself that have a bunch of singles, you can do all kinds of looks, still approachable, still cool, still elevated for work, date night, whatever. Again, this is more like a, I just got it, had to mention it. She's pretty neutral, okay? She's pretty neutral. So there you go. Here's another one. And this is it, you guys. Here are my 10, well, plus one, best neutral palettes. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you maybe found what you might have been looking for. But yeah, I cannot wait to do the colorful recommendations, okay? That's where my comfort zone is. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.